When deprived of human contact, some men transform into the most dangerous versions of themselves. Driven by violence, insanity, or sheer isolation, these individuals become unique and terrifying threats. Explore the chilling world of maximum security prisons and delve into the minds of men who have crossed the line into darkness. Forever marked by their time alone, these are the world's most dangerous men, kept in isolation. Anders Breivik. In this entry, we dive deep into the chilling tale of Anders Breivik, a man responsible for one of the most heinous acts of violence in modern history. Join us as we uncover the disturbing details of his crimes and the subsequent consequences that have led to his current state of isolation. Anders Breivik, a Norwegian far-right domestic terrorist, shocked the world in 2011 with a series of attacks that claimed the lives of 77 innocent people. Found guilty of mass murder, causing a fatal explosion, and terrorism, he was sentenced to a civilian criminal penalty in Norway. Now, after 11 years of extreme isolation, Breivik is suing the state, claiming violations of his human rights. To understand the chilling journey of Anders Breivik, we must first delve into his early life and upbringing. Born on February 13, 1979, in Oslo, Norway, Breivik's childhood was marked by reports of abuse and a strained relationship with his mother, Wenche Bering. These early experiences would shape the man he would become. From a young age, Breivik displayed signs of rebellion and a troubled disposition. As a teenager, he engaged in graffiti art and weight training, seeking an outlet for his frustrations. It was during this time that his extremist views began to take root, setting the stage for the horrors that would later unfold. As he transitioned into adulthood, Breivik started a business and claimed to have achieved significant financial success. However, his fortune soon took a turn for the worse, and he found himself facing bankruptcy. This setback only fueled his growing resentment and desire for radical action. Breivik's descent into extremism was driven by a far-right ideology that included a vehement opposition to Islam and feminism. He saw these forces as threats to his perceived cultural and ethnic identity, and he became consumed by a desire to protect what he believed was under attack. Over the course of several years, Breivik meticulously planned his devastating attacks. To obtain the materials for his explosives, he used his farming company as a cover, carefully concealing his true intentions. This calculated approach demonstrated the cold and methodical nature of his actions as he prepared to unleash unimaginable violence upon innocent victims. On July 22, 2011, Breivik's meticulously planned operation was set into motion. Certainly, here is the continuation of the story in a more naturally phrased manner. He first detonated a powerful car bomb in the government district of Oslo, causing widespread destruction and claiming the lives of 8 people. The blast sent shockwaves through the nation, leaving its citizens reeling from the sudden and senseless act of terror. But Breivik's rampage did not end there. After the explosion, he made his way to the island of Utøya, where a summer camp organized by the Norwegian Labour Party was taking place. Disguised as a police officer, he opened fire on the unsuspecting campers, methodically hunting them down. The massacre lasted for agonizing hours, and by the time Breivik was apprehended, 77 innocent lives had been brutally cut short, and 319 others were left wounded, both physically and emotionally. The magnitude of his crimes was unprecedented in Norway's history, leaving the nation in a state of shock and mourning. The aftermath of Breivik's heinous acts was met with widespread condemnation and a demand for justice. The trial that followed garnered significant media attention, as the world sought to understand the motivations behind such a horrific act of violence. It was during this trial that the full extent of Breivik's extremist beliefs and ideology were exposed. As the details of his upbringing and radicalization emerged, it became clear that Breivik's actions were not the result of an impulse, but rather the culmination of years of festering hatred and a distorted worldview. His far-right ideology, fueled by a deep-seated hatred of Islam and a desire to protect his perceived ethno-nationalist identity, had driven him to commit unspeakable acts. The trial concluded with Breivik being found guilty of mass murder, causing a fatal explosion, and terrorism. He was sentenced to the maximum civilian criminal penalty in Norway, a 21-year prison sentence, with the possibility of extensions if he is still deemed a threat. This sentence aimed to ensure that he would face the consequences of his actions for the rest of his life. And so, Anders Breivik, once a troubled teenager with extremist views, had transformed into a man responsible for one of the most devastating acts of violence in modern history. His early life and upbringing had laid the foundation for the horrors that would unfold, forever leaving a scar on the collective memory of Norway and the world. The chilling tale of Anders Breivik is a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked extremism and the profound impact of radical ideologies on individuals and society. After being sentenced to the maximum civilian criminal penalty in Norway, Anders Breivik's life took a drastic turn as he entered the confines of prison. Since August 2011, he has been held in a high-security section, isolated from other inmates and with limited contact with healthcare workers and guards. This extreme isolation has become a defining aspect of his existence. Initially, Breivik's mental state was a subject of debate among forensic psychiatrists. The initial diagnosis pointed to paranoid schizophrenia and criminal insanity, suggesting that a severe mental illness drove his actions. However, a second evaluation concluded that he did not suffer from psychosis, but rather exhibited antisocial and narcissistic personality disorders. This shift in diagnosis shed light on the complex nature of his psyche. Despite his isolation, Breivik has not been entirely cut off from the outside world. From the confines of his prison cell, he is engaged in political activities, writing letters to various individuals and organizations. These letters have served as a means for him to express his extremist views and maintain a connection to the ideologies that framed his heinous acts. However, Breivik's demands for improved conditions have been met with resistance. He has sought access to amenities such as a PlayStation 3 and a larger gym, but prison authorities have been reluctant to grant these requests. The restrictions placed upon him are necessary to prevent him from exerting influence or communicating with the outside world. Breivik's isolation has also been a subject of legal battles. He has filed complaints against his prison conditions, claiming that his solitary confinement and treatment in prison violate his human rights. His lawyer argues that he has been in extreme isolation for 11 years, with no contact with other people except his guards. These legal battles highlight the ongoing debates surrounding the treatment of high-profile criminals and the balance between punishment and the preservation of human rights. While some may argue that Breivik's isolation is a necessary consequence of his heinous crimes, others question the long-term effects of such extreme measures. The debate surrounding his mental state further complicates the issue, with some psychiatrists suggesting that he is mentally ill and others asserting that he exhibits personality disorders. The question of how to appropriately treat and manage individuals like Breivik remains a contentious one. Breivik's attempts to appeal for parole have been rejected in recent years. Last year, a Norwegian court rejected his parole application, deeming him still a risk of violence. Breivik's continued isolation serves as a punishment for his actions and a preventative measure to protect society. His case remains a focal point for discussions on the ethics of solitary confinement, the treatment of terrorists, and the balance between security and human rights in the penal system. This decision reflects the ongoing assessment of his potential threat to society and the need to prioritize public safety. As the years have passed, Breivik's prison life has been marked by isolation and limited contact with the outside world. However, he has not been entirely devoid of human interaction. He has been enrolled in a university program, providing him with opportunities for education and intellectual stimulation. Additionally, he has received visits from a military chaplain, offering him a source of spiritual guidance and support. Despite these limited interactions, Breivik's isolation remains a defining aspect of his existence. The conditions of his imprisonment have been a subject of scrutiny, with witnesses testifying about the prison conditions and making recommendations for improvement. The violation of Breivik's rights has been a central focus of the closing arguments in his legal battles, highlighting the government's responsibility to evaluate and make changes. In a verdict that sent shockwaves through the nation, a Norwegian court found that the conditions of Breivik's imprisonment breached Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights. Reactions to the verdict have been varied, with some supporting the decision as a necessary step towards ensuring the humane treatment of all prisoners, regardless of their crimes. However, others have criticized the ruling, arguing that it fails to adequately address the severity of Breivik's actions and the need for stringent measures to prevent further harm. Breivik's manifesto, titled 2083, A European Declaration of Independence, provides insight into his beliefs and influences. The manifesto espouses anti-Islamic and nationalist views, citing various sources to support his ideas. It serves as a chilling reminder of the dangerous ideologies that can fuel acts of violence, and the potential for individuals like Breivik to inspire others. Anders Breivik's life in prison and the isolation he has experienced are a testament to the complex nature of his crimes and the ongoing debate surrounding his treatment. While some argue for stricter measures to ensure public safety, others emphasize the importance of upholding human rights even in the face of heinous acts. The discussion around Breivik's imprisonment conditions highlights the broader societal struggle to balance justice, security, and human dignity. As Breivik continues to serve his sentence, the Norwegian government remains vigilant in monitoring his conditions and ensuring that they meet both security needs and human rights standards. His case will likely continue to be a focal point in debates about the treatment of high-profile criminals, the use of solitary confinement, and the ethical responsibilities of a justice system in a democratic society. The story of Anders Breivik serves as a stark reminder of the need for continued examination and discussion surrounding the treatment of high-profile criminals. His imprisonment has been marked by controversies and debates surrounding his treatment and the broader implications of his case. While some argue for strict measures to ensure public safety, others raise concerns about the potential violation of his human rights and the long-term effects of his isolation. One of the key points of contention revolves around the conditions of Breivik's imprisonment. His demands for improved amenities, such as access to a PlayStation 3 and a larger gym, have been met with resistance from prison authorities. Critics argue that providing such privileges would be inappropriate, given the severity of his crimes and the need to maintain a secure and controlled environment. On the other hand, Breivik's legal battles against the Norwegian government have shed light on the potential violation of his human rights. His extreme isolation, with no contact with other people except his guards, has raised concerns about the psychological impact of long-term solitary confinement. Some argue that such conditions can lead to further deterioration of mental health and potentially exacerbate the risk of violence. The debate surrounding Breivik's mental state has also been a subject of controversy. While he was initially diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and criminal insanity, a second evaluation concluded that he did not suffer from psychosis, but exhibited antisocial and narcissistic personality disorders. This shift in diagnosis has sparked discussions about the appropriate treatment and management of individuals like Breivik, who may not fit neatly into traditional categories of mental illness. Breivik's ability to engage in political activities from prison has raised eyebrows and fueled concerns about his potential to radicalize others. Writing letters to various individuals and organizations, he has maintained a connection to the extremist ideologies that motivated his crimes. Critics argue that allowing him to continue spreading his beliefs from behind bars poses a significant risk to society. Despite the controversies surrounding his imprisonment, Breivik has been denied parole. Last year, a Norwegian court rejected his application, deeming him still a risk of violence. This decision reflects the ongoing assessment of his potential threat and the prioritization of public safety. However, it has also sparked debates about the appropriate length of his sentence and the potential for rehabilitation. The treatment of high-profile criminals like Breivik raises broader questions about the purpose of incarceration and the balance between punishment and rehabilitation. While some argue that his crimes are so severe that he should be permanently removed from society, others advocate for a focus on rehabilitation and the potential for individuals to change. Breivik's case has also highlighted the need for continued examination of the factors that contribute to acts of extremism and violence. His far-right ideology, fueled by a deep-seated hatred of Islam and a desire to protect his perceived ethno-nationalist identity, serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of extremist beliefs. It raises questions about the role of ideology in motivating acts of violence and the responsibility of society to address the underlying factors that contribute to radicalization. As the years pass, the legacy of Anders Breivik's crimes and his subsequent imprisonment continue to generate controversy and raise important questions. The balance between punishment and human rights, the potential for rehabilitation, and the prevention of radicalization remain ongoing challenges. His case underscores the complexity of dealing with individuals who commit heinous acts and the need for a nuanced approach that considers both security and humanity. We'll keep you updated as more information becomes available. Stay informed, stay safe. Subscribe for more updates. Thank you for watching.